the first video of a long series of videos I'm going to do for you. The first one is going to be a small component of reading the wind. Reading the wind is extremely difficult and it does take time, but it is achievable. You can't just read a book and all of a sudden go out there and start judging the wind on its correct speed and angle and direction and all that sort of thing. It just doesn't work that way. So fortunately, I detailed as much as possible in the book that I could. Chapter 3, Reading the Wind, details that. And further along in Chapter 12, I discuss with you certain components of the wind that are more difficult than others, in particular head and tailwinds, and also the dreaded updraft and downdraft winds. You'll see a video right now on an example of an updraft effect that I recorded about 12, 13 years ago using a 300 WSM, just over 1,000 meters. You'll see the effects of it and you'll see how much it does affect the flight path of the projectile. Let's have a look at that now. Okay, here's that clay target at 1,030 meters inside the red circle there. The wind speed is about 5 to 8 miles an hour coming from around the 4:30 direction, and from this shot you'll see the dust leave off in the other direction there, indicated by the red arrow. What happens shortly is that the wind changes speed and direction. It then comes from about the 5 o'clock direction but increases speed to about 10 miles an hour, pushing it towards those trees in the red circle. You can see it start to move more now, and pushing the wind up the valley, creating an updraft. And when the shot goes off, you can see the impact about 0.5 mil high, indicated by the direction of the dust travel there after the impact as well. So what happened is that the updraft caused a delay in the drop of the projectile. Appears to be pushing it up. The wind settles down again, changes direction slightly and comes across the valley, causing this shot to land about 0.6 to 0.7 of a mil to the left of the target. And then the wind changes slightly again on the next shot, pushing the dust up the valley a little bit more again. If you have a look at the dry grass there in the picture, where the shadows are of the trees, you'll see the ripple effect of the mirage going right to left. That mirage angle and the ripple effect is an excellent way to read the wind direction and speed. But unfortunately with valleys, when you get an updraft or a downdraft, unless you see the effects of the trees, it's very difficult to not only detect, but to understand the magnitude of the effect of these updrafts and downdrafts. Very difficult. Practice makes perfect.
It is. You've got the changing wind, you know? Yeah, it is grouping very well.
As the video camera backs out there, you can see the size of the valley the projectile was travelling across. Gives you some idea of the distance of the target. The rifle that was used was a Blaser R93 and 300 WSM using 210 grain burgers. Scope was a Schmidt & Bender 4-16. Rifle had a medium profile fluted barrel. So the question is, how can you predict an updraft or a downdraft? Firstly, what you can do is look at the shape of the land you're shooting across and imagine the wind is flowing like a river or water. And if you are shooting down a valley where the target is on the other side and the wind is coming from behind you, then the wind will come past you and move down into the valley and up the next side of it. How fast the wind blows will determine how far it pushes the projectile off its flight path. For an example,
if the wind is blowing at, say, 5 to 8 mile an hour or 10 miles an hour, and your target is at 1,000 meters, half a milrad of shift to a milrad is not uncommon, depending on obviously the cartridge and projectile you're using and the distance as well. Another tool in the toolbox we can use is an application on our mobile like Windy or Ventusky, which will tell us at our location the speeds and the directions of the wind layers above our shooting point, and in particular where the culminating point of the projectile is, more than halfway to the target. Finally, you can use another tool like a thermal imager. If you're looking at your target area, a thermal imager will tell you the directions of warmer and cooler areas of wind, especially if you set the settings correctly, where you're using some colors with a fine temperature gradient. That will tell you the direction of certain types of winds if you're getting really serious about it, I guess. Lastly, the best thing I can suggest to do is practice in those winds and identify when they actually are present, and observe the effects yourself when you see the actual location of the bullet impact, and in particular where the dust comes off that bullet impact at the target location. So I hope the information in this segment has been useful to you, and stay tuned for the next video in time to come.